I was asked recently about how to use words styles rather than manually inserting in first line indent. And so what I'm going to do is just walk you through that process. So I am using Word in a Windows environment. So the commands I'm going to give you are related to Windows commands. I'm sure Mac has similar commands, but I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But as you follow along, these will be the window commands that I'm getting. So let's say you've got a manuscript and you've got a tab or something to create your first line indent, and you want to actually replace them so that they're controlled by the style instead. If you look at this paragraph mark and turn it on, it allows you to see all the special characters that you don't normally see. So you'll see here I have 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a tab mark here. And so what I want to do is get rid of these things in addition to having the style defined so it creates a first line indent. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the things that I don't want. And so to do that, I'm going to do a find and replace. In Word, that's a Control H. And so here I am going to look for a tab. So normally when you come in, this field looks like this. If you click on More and click on Special and click on Tab, it's going to put in a special character, which is a caret followed by a T, which stands for a tab. And we're going to empty out the replace field so that it's blank. And so this is going to say find any tab and replace it with nothing. And so if I do replace all here, you'll see this particular line. They found one and they removed it. And so here now I'm going to have this one. I need to get rid of 5 spaces. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to put the 5 spaces in the find what and say replace with nothing. And so I'm going to replace all, and there are 2 that are gone. So now that's helped me clean up the manual formatting I've put in, but how do I go ahead and apply styles to it? Well, in this particular instance, the style currently in use is the one with the gray box around it, and in this case it's normal. And assuming that I want to keep that style, what I do is I come along and I hover over normal, I right click and click on modify, and that brings up this dialog box. And so in here there's a lot of adjustments that I can make to the normal style that when I make it will apply to all of the text currently using that style. So in this case we want to do a first line indent, and I also want to remove the spacing between paragraphs because that's not normal for books. So I'm going to go to Format, Paragraph, and in here the spacing after should be 0 because I don't want any spacing. And under Special I want to change Special to first line, and I want to indicate that I want a 0.25 indent. Now, I personally like to change the multiple to 1.13. You can leave that as is or change that however you'd like, but these are the things that I would do in order to make the style what I would like it to look like. So then I click OK, and I click OK again, and you'll see that all of the document has been changed so that everything that was using that style, if I click on the hidden characters again, you'll see there's no manual first line indent. It's being done automatically. And so that makes things nice and neat. Now let's say that instead of having ragged right on this side, I decide that I want all this text to be justified. I can go back and modify my style again, and the justified is here. And maybe I want to change the font to be something different. Maybe I want it to be Adobe Garamond instead, and maybe make it 12 points instead of 11. Now I've made all these changes, but it's going to apply to everything that is using this style. So it's a quick and easy way of changing the look and feel of what I've got here without having to go in and manually change everything. And an editor who receives a document after you've actually applied styles within Word is going to absolutely love you, because one of the first things that I do anytime I receive a manuscript is I go through and I do all the cleanup of the styles, because now if I need to set things up so that it's a bullet or it's a list or I've got a table to work on or whatever, I can do it using Word's predefined styles to help me get there, as opposed to having to get rid of all of the manual formatting that people used in order to try and make things look the way they wanted. Other things that you might want to take a look at and become familiar with are the page break. So for instance, if I decide that I want when I bought my first new car to be on its own page, I can come up to Insert, Page Break, and it's going to move that content to another page for me. I see a lot of people actually just use a whole series of page marks to push the content down, and your editor or designer is going to have to delete all those, so that's not helpful. There are times too when you might want to have space between two particular paragraphs. You can define a new style that will create that for you. So maybe I decide that this first paragraph of the document, I want to have no first line indent because it's the beginning of my book. So I can define a style that has that information. Let me pull up my normal style set. And when I define a style like that, in this case my first paragraph after heading 1, now I have no first line indent for the first bit, but all of the rest are using a different style. This one's using Paro, but this one is using normal. And so I can control the design and the look and feel of both of them independently. And this is the way your book ultimately needs to be. If you're self-publishing, you really need to learn these different things because your styles get carried over into both your print and your ebook versions and make it much easier for people to manipulate those when they're creating those for you. So if you have any other questions, please let me know. And this has been an overview of how to use styles within Word. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.